This is the first Sunday in Lent. And in the Unity Movement, Lent is a 40 days season of increasing unfoldment, focusing on spiritual growth, self-examination, inner renewal, rather than the tradition of fasting or atonement. It's viewed as a time to cross out, release and let go, right? Of error thoughts, false beliefs, and behaviors that no longer serve one's spiritual growth. So the question I have for you, what will you set as your intentions for Lent this season? What redressing practices will you observe? And how will you try to get closer to God? My intention this year is to try to understand profound disagreement. We have one voice, two ears, one heart. What we do here is when we are listening, what happens when we only listen with one of those? This is my question for my Lent. For inner renewing is not the same thing as doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different results. Now, I've tried to take one day at a time, but it seems sometimes several things attack me all at once, especially when I'm going out the door. Inner joke. So I try to remember this, not to talk too loud. I'll hold it away. You okay? Good batteries. All I ever needed to know, I learned in kindergarten from Robert Fulghum. Most of what I really need to know about how to live and what to do and how to be, I learned in kindergarten. These are the things I learned. Share some, play fair, don't hit people, put things back where you found them, clean up your own mess. That's a hard one for me. Don't take things that aren't yours. Say you're sorry when you hurt somebody. Wash your hands before eating. Flush. Warm cookies and cold milk are good for you, just not before bedtime. Live a balanced life. Learn some, think some, draw some, paint and sing and dance and play and work every day with a good musician. Take a nap every afternoon when you go out. And when you go out in the world, watch for traffic, hold hands, stick together, be aware of wonder. Remember that the seeds in the plastic cups, the roots go down, and the plant grows up. Nobody really knows how or why. We are like that. Then remember that the book about Dick and Jane, and the first word you learn, the biggest word of all, look. Everything you need to know is there somewhere. The golden rule and love based on sanitation, ecology, politics, and healthful living. Healthy living. Think what a better world it would be if the whole world had cookies and milk at 3 o'clock, and every afternoon they laid down with our blankets for a nap. I think some of us are doing that already. I try to recall this when I get into heavy discussions. Handling stressful people involves maintaining my own calmness, setting firm boundaries, and managing my reactions when trying to control their behavior rather than trying to control their behavior. Strategies including practice, active listening, limit exposure to toxic individuals, not mirroring their negative emotions, and using the let them theory to accept their beliefs without letting it involve my peace. Here are some keys to handling stressful moments. Set clear boundaries. Define what behavior is acceptable to you and distance yourself when they cross those lines. It's okay to limit your time with them. Stay calm and detached. Avoid getting on their emotional bus. Do not mirror their negative, their complaining, or their urgency. Using deep rest to manage your own stress and your own stress responses. Practice the letting them theory. Accept that you cannot change others, allowing them to be and think and act how they choose, while you focus on your own reactions. Remove the power of what they have over your emotions. Active listening without absorbing. Let them talk, but don't feel obligated to solve their problems or engage in their drama. That's one I work on. Control your environment. If a special conversation or person causes stress, steer the conversation away from hot-button issues, topics, or remove yourself from the situation altogether. Focus on the behavior, not the person. Instead of labeling someone difficult, identify the special irate behavior to manage it objectively. Prioritize your self-care. Take breaks after interacting to recharge, protect your well-being. Find quiet moments to unwind. Come to the prayer circle. That helps too. Profound disagreement. How do I handle it? I try to remember I have one voice, 2 ears, one heart. What do I hear when I'm listening with only one of those? I repeat that for myself many times. From the Course in Miracles from Chapter 6, Lessons in Love, anger cannot occur unless you believe that you have been attacked, that attack is justified in return, and there is no way, and you are not in no way responsible for it. Now, I grew up in a very strong Irish family. If we weren't arguing over a topic, we were sleeping. It could have been one thing or another. It might be, what shoes do I wear to school? Well, we had church shoes, which were not to be mixed with the boots you wore around home. Another argument I remember quite vividly was over the first high school dance we got to go to. My father would say, it's not going to be your freshman year. With 3 older sisters, that was a hard and fast rule. I think that was to protect him, or her, and them. He was a very strict man. With 7 kids, he became more lenient as he got older. By the time my youngest brother, the 7th child, and my brother had graduated, the argument had stopped. My little brother celebrates that because he got the best of the whole world. However, when I came to Unity, I learned I always had a choice. To this day, I still work on seeing and feeling and understanding those choices. Now, something occurred this particular week, last week, and it had to do with that same thing. We'd gotten this big box of stuff, and the box sat in the kitchen. And Peggy says, could you take that out? Of course, my ego got in the way and said, no, I don't want to, I ain't going to. So I picked up the box and I walked to the garage, and apparently something happened. The coolness in that garage at that moment hit me and said, you're going to spend all this time tearing and shredding up this box to throw it in the recycle bin when you could just simply take the tape off the box, throw it in the back of the car, and take it to the food bank. The spiritual 2x4 hit me squarely in between the eyes. So I walked back in the house and I said, thank you. She gave me this funny look, I don't understand, which is okay. I work on trying to understand the relationship between peace and power, sound in silence. I seek the peace in my power and the power in my peace. These understanding twist and turn with each person I am addressing. I look for peace in my quiet moments, that I might use these thoughts when there is not a peaceful situation. I also find my power in those quiet moments, listening for what is mine to do when I feel out of control. I also pursue the peace in my power in those moments of stress when attempting to understand others. For an example, look down on the floor. What color is our carpet? About a month ago, I walked into the church and said, "Isn't this beautiful blue carpet?" And the person in front of me says, "No, it's not. It's speckled." Okay, it's speckled blue, so we agreed to agree. It was speckled blue. So sometimes what people say is not always what we think they say. So what is free speech? It's a man or a woman whose words would make your blood boil, who stand center stage and advocate at the top of their lungs that which you would spend a lifetime opposing at the top of yours. Acknowledging their freedom is not always easy, but accepting or resisting is always a choice. I'll say that again. Acknowledging their freedom is not always easy, but accepting or resisting is always a choice. So what is the importance of sound and silence? Somebody told me this week, music is praying twice. The melody is thump your heart and get it to beat, and the words guide your thoughts. For prayer is talking to spirit, and meditation is listening. And when we have music, we have both. Music allows me to celebrate with the greatest spirit of understanding in those moments. From some people, their words are only sounds. I choose to hear or listen by choice, and maybe, just maybe, I do try to understand. Sometimes I find myself in fear. What is fear? False evidence appearing real. I try to remember what caused that in this moment. Now, there are 100 vibrations between this and that, and in those nanoseconds of life, I need to understand the extremes of both sides of this and that. In a meditation world, going beneath life's moments, vibration refers to the concept of everything, including people, emotions, and thoughts, emit energy at different frequencies. With higher vibration, love, joy, gratitude, indicates spiritual well-being and growth. Low vibrations, fear, anger, negativity, suggests an imbalanced or disconnected world. Rising one's vibrations through positive thoughts and practicing like meditation and music is believed to lead to a higher realization, better health, spiritual alignment, and connecting to the strong universe of energy and harmony. When there is profound disagreement, I return to my unity roots. For as I recall, we have one voice, two ears, and one heart. What do we choose, and what are we listening for when we only use one of those? Now, Robert Brennan, one of my teachers at Unity School, urges to always stay prayed up. Start each morning with a prayer of intention and end each evening with a prayer of forgiveness and appreciation. Now, Unity in the Valley is now 55 years old this year. I don't think there was anybody around that is here, but there's a couple of us that are close. Two women from Unity in Tucson formed a study group here in Green Valley, Jane Dorsey and Barn Ripley. Their attendance started out from between 5 and 9, and over the first year, they stayed about that same. In the winter months, much like we do, we get snowbirds, and so they would increase. They would find themselves in meeting in different banks, real estate offices, and even in some homes. Sometimes they met on Fridays and Saturdays, and not always on Sundays. They organized as a church in 1988. The first minister was Reverend Joyce Meek in November of 1995. Over the years, I've got to work with three of the many Unity ministers here in Unity in the Valley. A few years back when we celebrated our 50th anniversary, I had Maurice Gillette come and join us. I learned he had a vision to build the current building we are now within for those attending then and those attending now in the future for him. He did have plans for a meeting hall. We just haven't got around to it yet. Also, I got to work with Reverend Anne Marie Bell. One day I was called to her office and I thought, oh yes, I'm in trouble. With a capital T and ends with E, right? She asked me a very profound question that caught me off guard. What do you do when somebody pushes your button? I didn't want to tell her about growing up in a tough Irish family. After several moments of standing on one foot or the other, I tried to figure out what to say. Finally, I tried the truth. Timidly, I said, I get angry. Other times, I just walk away. I try to do it the Unity way and listen with an open heart, but that doesn't always work for me. Well, not letting me off the hook, she asked, what causes this? After another moment of panic in the silence, she finally gave me the answer. It's what you hold inside that causes you the problems, not what's on the outside. Staying prayed up, seeing the Christ in yourself and others was her answer. Letting go of the past and looking forward to my renewal, I begin my Lenten journey this year and remembering her message from Romans 12, verse 2. Do not be conformed with this word, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, the next minister I got to work with, Reverend Donna Johnson. Donna was 4 years ahead of me in school at Unity Village. Many of my classmates in the LUT training went on to become ministers. I too wanted to become ordained. It was my dream to become a Unity minister. Reverend Donna saw this, and 2 years ago, she got permission from the board, the national board, as well as the Unity board here in Valley, to give me a field ordination. And I'm so blessed by that. And thank you all for doing that. With her passion and kindness, I've grown more to understand what Unity's teachings and concepts are. She has given me the strength to have more confidence. I almost didn't read my lecture today or presentation. I wanted to try her concepts of speaking from the hip. Haven't not quite grown that far yet. I was concerned it would be too long or too short. From all my teachers over the years, my mother was the most influence. She was vertically challenged. She was always on a diet. However, she raised 7 children, 4 girls and 3 boys. She had a sharp Irish wit, and there's nothing in this world as sharp as an Irish woman's tongue. She'll cut you to the quick. However, her favorite saying was, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, promoting empathy, kindness, and fairness. And I remember a story. I was in high school, and my brother rode motorcycles, and one of his friends came to the house. And the guy drove his bike right up to the picket fence, started to get off the bike, and this guy was big. He was at least 6'5", probably weighed 300 pounds, and it was all shoulders. He was mammoth. And as he got off, he put his size 12 boots right in the middle of my mother's flower garden. The world stopped at that moment, and silence filled the neighborhood. She raced to the front step, and Joe knew he was in trouble. She raced right out there, grabbed him by the ear, and I mean, he was so tall he could have picked her up and put her back on the porch. But he did not. The respect they had for each other. She said, please remove your number 12s out of my newly planted flower bed. He did. He pulled his bike over. She went and stood on the steps, and as he came up, she said, I've just made a whole big batch of goulash. Would you like to come and join us for lunch? And from Matthew 24, verses 40, Jesus replied, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it for me." And that was the one thing she believed in. I saw it that day. From each one of these persons, I have learned how to set the power of my intentions when dealing with profound disagreement. From Reverend Maurice, vision, the future with a greater understanding. From Reverend Anne Marie, discovering what's inside of me by just listening. And from Donna, Reverend Donna, being patient with others and myself, you have the ability to accomplish your heart's desires. And for my mother, promoting understanding and kindness, for love is the way. Now, I start each morning with this prayer, and you will know it, and if you'd like to join with me, I would appreciate it. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, raindrops follow the path of least resistance. People do not. I try to remember this, for peace and joy is my life's responsibility. Peace and joy is my life's responsibility. It is my duty to find my peace and joy and then share it with kindness and understanding with others. So I'll leave that with your intention of what you would like to do in renewing your time of addressing the changes in your life during Lent. Please remember, it is my duty to find my peace and joy, then share it with kindness and understanding to others. Thank you for listening.